Are we ready to ride this pony?
I'm ready. Let's saddle up.
All right, welcome to Hops and Monsters. We're riding the pony today. I'm Charlie.
I'm Ben.
You've stumbled upon a weekly discussion of uninhibited nerdery. We talk about our favorite nerd subjects like horror movies and video games, comic books, and we drink some beers. While we do it, I am drinking fresh squeezed IPA from Deschutes, one of my favorites.
That is probably my favorite beer of all time.
Yeah, it's the one we've had in the
so
studio
good.
a couple times now. And what do you got, Ben?
I went back to the Dale's Pale Ale because it reminds me of Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good reference. That's what you're going to get all night, folks. You're going to get great references to awesome movies.
Yeah. If we talk about a movie, just track it down and watch it. It'll be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's just completely hilarious.
And this is going to definitely be an episode where we give a lot of recommendations out because, well, you, me, and Engineer Ant. Also, let's get this out of the way. Some business. We sound really good because Anthony Garcia does our audio, and you can find him at anthonygarciaaudio.com. Thanks, Ant.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
We also sound good because of the awesome intro music, brought to us by our good buddies at Left Hand of Creation, Thomas and Patrick.
Find them at the Left Hand of Creation. They're on SoundCloud and Facebook. I just love the music, so we got to start giving them proper shout-outs at the beginning. So there you go. Thanks, guys. So yesterday we had kind of a Hops and Monsters field day, right? Like a field trip almost.
Field trip to the cinema.
We all together as a group, maybe for the first time outside the studio, got together as a group, and we went and saw the new movie Arrival. It's a cool UFO first contact kind of movie directed by one of my favorite current directors, Denis Villeneuve, I want to say.
He's working on the Blade Runner sequel, right?
Yeah, he's the guy working on the new Blade Runner. And everything I've seen from him so far has been great. I love Enemy, which is Jake Gyllenhaal kind of sees his doppelganger, and there's a giant mystery around that. I love Prisoners. I loved Sicario, and this one was a good one too. So we're going to talk about UFO movies in honor of Arrival.
Yeah, which if you haven't seen it yet, we're not going to give away too many spoilers about it because it's just you got to go see it in the theater if you're going to see it.
You got to see it, and it's one of those movies that changes on you throughout. And so yeah, we're going to try to go spoiler free, but this is probably the most recent thing that we've ever. Like the most recent thing that's out there that we're talking about because we stick to the older stuff, but
yeah, so we're going to talk about abduction and alien themed films.
Yeah,
tonight,
like this one
because we can't get Arrival off our minds.
Yeah, so Arrival, basically a bunch of giant alien ships show up. Amy Adams is brought in to try to communicate with them. It's a total mind bender, and I really love the way it was put together. It's slow. I think it's pretty slow, but it's compelling.
It's heavy on the atmosphere. I mean,
yeah, definitely. What did you think? Yeah, tell me more.
Well, at the beginning of the film, when all the aliens just suddenly just appear at 12 different spots on the planet, I was thinking, oh, okay, this did we stumble into the remake of Independence Day or something?
Yeah, it definitely has that where they cover the world. Kind of like one of my favorite stories, Childhood's End.
It's very similar to that.
Yeah. And I'd never watched I'll talk about it more later, but I've never watched the miniseries that came out a couple years ago or a year ago because I love the book so much. I don't want my vision of the book ruined, But,
I hate it when that happens.
About a dozen of these alien ships just descend at various points on the Earth,
or just appear. We're not really sure.
Yeah, it's not really told how they arrived. Is it
the whole world freaks out?
It's true. That's kind of an interesting point, but. Yeah, if you've seen any of this director's movies before, it's very thoughtful, very methodical. There's no big action I mean, there's maybe one action sequence, but...
It was adapted from a book.
It was, yeah, and I'm unfamiliar with the book, but it sounds interesting. And it sounds like they kind of tried to take the narrative structure of something like a book and adapt it to the film.
Absolutely.
It's a very unique narrative structure. That's what I really liked about this movie.
Yeah, it's not heavy on the action. It is not Independence Day 2.
Yeah. But I just think that this guy, Villeneuve, whatever Denis's last name is, he's a French director. He's done so many different kinds of movies. Like Sicario's like this drug action movie, like Traffic. And he's done Prisoners, which is this very dramatic, very intense, high-intensity thriller. Seeing this movie really makes me excited about Blade Runner. First of all, I just got to say that because I was really not excited about a new Blade Runner until now.
Really?
Well, until knowing he was involved with it. Let's put it that way. Yeah, you know what they do with movies. You know, 30 years later, they never get it right.
I'm not expecting the sequel to Blade Runner to be better than the original.
Yeah.
But I remember when we were going to talk about Blade Runner a few weeks ago, and we decided to hold off on that until there's more information about the sequel coming out.
Yeah, we'll get into more about Blade Runner.
When it's the only thing on our minds.
The 80s, yeah. Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. Totally different subject. But, the fact that this guy has created this, in 2016, a slow, thoughtful science fiction movie is really telling as far as his powers as a director, as far as his ability to convince a studio to give him money to make this movie. I mean, this is kind of out of left field for what's popular right now as far as comic book characters and everything like that. So I just love it. It's very thoughtful. Go see it.
Yep.
Right?
I can't recommend it enough.
Ant, you saw it with us.
Yeah.
You liked it?
I loved it.
Ant loved it. It was really good. It was really absorbing.
The cinematography is gorgeous.
Yeah, and I gotta say, one of the most quiet theater experiences I've had in a long time. I mean, no one's phone went off, no one's talking or chatting. Everyone was really absorbed, and I think that speaks to the movie.
I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, even though it's like a slow burn kind of movie.
Yeah, it's
you don't know what the next scene is going to bring, and you can't predict it.
Yeah. I love that, and that's maybe what I like about so many UFO movies that happen. It's a mystery that's unfolding, right? And it always has the great big reveal at the end, or it always has some kind of culmination. But that's my favorite part about these UFO movies is the mystery, is trying to figure out what happened, or what is happening, or what's going to happen. I love that.
As I like with any good story.
Any good story. But I mean, I've been obsessed with UFOs since I was a kid.
You actually you told me once many years ago that you've seen a UFO.
I saw something that I was unable to identify. Yeah, I mean that's the definition of UFO, an unidentified flying object.
Well, do tell. I mean, the audience wants to know. What exactly did you see?
Well, the Charlie is Crazy story goes that in high school, being from a small town, what you did in high school was you drove around and did nothing with your friends, whoever had a car. I lived kind of on the edge of town where there was a lot of development happening, so you'd be able to kind of drive into these neighborhoods that were still under construction and hang out. No drugs or alcohol at this time. I was
not yet, anyway.
No, I was a kid. Yeah, I was a babe, an innocent little babe. And we went and got some fast food somewhere, me and my friend, and drove.
Oh, come on, that's a drug.
Well, yeah, we were cruising on cheeseburgers and milkshakes. But no, he had a moon roof and it was open. It was dark. Definitely saw an object fly overhead of us while we were eating out on this hill, and it was silent and didn't make any noise. It was triangular shaped, and it kind of hovered and flew off, and it was weird.
How long did it hover for?
Not long. I mean, it didn't feel long. It was 3 weeks later when we realized what had happened. No, no, there was nothing like that. It just kind of flew overhead real slow and then took off. And everything that I've read is that the triangular-shaped craft are believed to be human, government craft.
Prototype stealth bomber. Maybe that's what you saw.
Yeah, something like that.
Except that it was hovering.
It was strange because it was above us and there was no sound. There was no jet engine
lights?
sound.
Did it have any lights at all?
It had some lights, but,
Were they blinking or strobing in any way?
Were they blinking? Maybe a couple of them, but, I mean, aircraft lights blink.
Right,
yeah,
so...
Nothing special. But, yeah, it was a bizarre thing, and we both kind of me and my friend looked at each other, and we're like... Well, yeah, that just happened, right? Okay, that just happened. Kind of like Jeremy Renner in Arrival, where he's... Yeah, that just happened, right? Yeah, okay. We just got to make sure.
That's exactly what you would say,
Yeah.
That's what you'd think.
I know, that was, That's, and that's a theme that comes up in a lot of these movies is people going, I want to know it's real. That's kind of the pursuit of all this.
Yeah, that's what makes these stories really interesting is that you can see that people have this idea of what reality is, and then they see something that they can't explain.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
And their whole reality just shatters.
Yeah.
They have to question everything after that.
And you can kind of understand, you can see how these people would become obsessed with something like this. You know, if they experience, like I said, I experienced something, and I was already kind of a nut as a kid.
I don't
just
believe
as a
it.
kid, like reading everything on the Bermuda Triangle and reading everything about
things
like Atlantis and
ancient
just getting into all
aliens,
that stuff, ancient aliens, and that to me is so fascinating. The idea that we have.
Oh,
this
I'm a huge fan
history.
of ancient aliens, and especially the dude with the hair, Giorgio Tsoukalos.
Yeah, Georgia with the hair.
I mean,
he's great, right?
Yeah, he was actually on Coast to Coast AM a couple nights ago, and I listened to it, and so that perfectly fits in with this theme tonight.
What was his? What was he talking about on Coast to Coast?
Well, it was him and the producer of the show, and they were talking about how it started off as just a 2-hour special for the History Channel, and every time they reran it, it got more and more views exponentially.
Right.
And so
ancient aliens.
Yeah. And so they started asking more guests to appear on it, and it was based, on a book by Eric von Daniken called Chariots of the Gods. That's pretty much the Bible of the ancient aliens phenomena.
Oh, okay.
Came out in 1973.
Okay. I don't know as much about the ancient alien stuff as I do about kind of the modern times sightings, so you'll have to correct me on things if I go astray on that. But
I dabble in it. It is an interest of mine for sure. Just because there's so many questions that you can't answer, like all these megalithic structures all over the place. How the hell did they build that stuff? You got to wonder,
Yeah, exactly. That wonder, that sense of wonder is what drives people to look for this stuff in the first place.
Like there's things that are megalithic sites, under the ocean in Japan that we could not build today.
Yeah.
We know that just physically impossible. How the hell did ancient people who didn't even have a written language, how were they able to accomplish this?
Well, so do you believe? I guess if you're really into this stuff, you kind of have to believe, right?
I'm skeptical of everything. It's like I'm a huge fan of Coast to Coast AM and George Norrie, and I listen to that as often as I can. But I mean, he has guests on there that swear that werewolves are real.
Sure.
And it's like, come on, it's like there's just. But that's what's cool about George Norrie is he'll call those guests out and go, come on, do you seriously believe this? And he says he believes in the ancient astronaut
But
theory.
do they ever back down? None of them are ever like, what, George, you're right.
I get that they've written a book and they're just trying to promote it, and their agent just booked them on the show, and so he has to play along a little bit. But if someone's just too far out there and obviously a complete nut job,
That's funny. Well, I used to work these. I used to do audio video work, and I would work these events that were like the Whole Living Expo, and half of those would be like nutrition or massage and all this, but half of them would be ancient aliens, light therapy, angels have come down.
Holistic alternative medicine.
Yeah, all the alternative stuff.
I actually am really into that stuff.
And it's crazy how those conferences pack people in, man. I mean, there is a genuine interest, and it's not like a snarky, sarcastic interest. Like, people aren't going there to like, hey, look how funny this is. People are like really into it, and I think that genuineness is something that covers a lot of this territory too.
That's what they were saying on Coast to Coast when I was listening to it, was that the ancient alien phenomenon is so huge now because so many people are questioning what's really happening, and there's some weird survey out there that like 70% of the people in this country no longer believe the media or the government. So we're left to find our own answers and our own conclusions to things.
That makes sense. Yeah, and every time
we're not going to be spoon-fed whatever they're telling us.
That's right, man. We're not going to be a part of your system. We're adults here. So, Roswell's the first UFO encounter. That's in 1947.
Oh, no, there's ones before that.
Well, that's the one I was thinking was
the first UFO crash.
The launching point of the interest, like the modern day interest in UFOs.
There was an abduction case even before then.
Okay.
The case of Betty and Barney Hill. You can just, I'm not going to go into that. You can Google it, folks, if you're really into it.
Was that before Roswell?
Yeah.
And it
was a straight up abduction.
They straight up abducted those people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Took them right off the roadside in the middle of the night.
That's crazy, man. But again, it's one of those where it's like you hear one story like that, crazy, but
I'm not saying I believe it.
Dozens of people keep having the same kind of experiences and stories, and that to me is what got me as a kid. It's like, well, everyone from everywhere in the country and internationally is having this similar experience. So it can't be just one big hoax, right? Or
how could that many?
That's how I got into it.
Is it a hive mind that just a meme that infects everybody and gets into the?
Or it's like you hear about, okay, there's a cigar-shaped craft, and so then your mind is
Are you going to
trying to
conjure
make
up?
it happen.
Are you going to see clouds that look like cigar-shaped craft and feel
and
like...
if it's all fake, the power of suggestion on the human mind, I think, is an equally interesting kind of idea.
And the power of drugs, people.
And the power of drugs. Yeah, this is true. This is the 60s and 70s is really when it ramps up in sightings, and that's when drugs start ramping up. That is funny. Well, let's see. Because I like a lot of the old Alien movies. So let's get back to the movies, right? The entertainment.
So what would you say is the quintessential UFO movie of all time?
Well, the quintessential UFO movie of all time has got to be Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right?
Yep, I agree.
It's got to be the one.
It's got to be. It just hasn't been topped. Done in 1976. No one's made a better one yet.
Yes, it's Steven Spielberg.
Please do not make a remake of it.
Yeah, right.
You can't do it better.
But no, talk about a title giving away the ending of the movie, though. What do you think is going to happen in this movie? There's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Well, we have to wait till the fourth kind to find that out with Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, there's several kinds, apparently. I just heard there was up to like 7 kinds. And I'm like, that seems like too many kinds of encounters. Can't keep them straight. Let's talk about Close Encounters. I actually just watched this recently. Steven Spielberg, I think, these days is thought of as pretty sentimental, or maybe he's just thought of as old school. But back when he was starting, and this is, again, 77, this is the movie after Jaws. This is a radical movie to be putting out in the mainstream consciousness. It's not like Star Wars where it's a fantasy, or it's Star Trek where you can kind of go in the future. He's saying, this is an alien encounter today. It gets into the government conspiracy stuff. It gets into ideas of abduction and the history of abduction, right? The first scene is like all the World War II planes are returned.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It's very cool how it unfolds. I love,
there was a Navy flight over the Bermuda Triangle in like 1955 that just disappeared. Off the radar. Couldn't find any signs of wreckage. They sent a rescue fleet out to find it. That disappeared.
Yeah, and this is
and the opening of Close Encounters is these planes just showing up in the middle of the desert somewhere, like they've just been dropped off. Like, hey, we borrowed these for a little bit. Here you go. You can have them back.
Exactly. Close Encounters is kind of also kind of like a rival. It's kind of slow. It's a lot of these movies kind of take their time unfolding, and they build up to the giant climactic ending. So you see some lights in the sky, and Richard Dreyfuss. I love Richard Dreyfuss making the mountain out of the mashed potatoes.
Oh, man.
Stuff. I mean, I used to do
that
that
as a kid. Stop with the mashed potatoes. You're making me hungry.
I used to do that as a kid all the time just because of that movie. Just playing. It was like an excuse to play with your food. It was perfect.
Did you try to build a replica of Devil's Tower out of your mashed potatoes?
Yeah, exactly. I did every time. And I'd have the broccoli. There's like the forest around it.
That's pretty creative, actually.
And then I would just smash like a giant piece of meatloaf into it, like UFO. No.
Salisbury steak. That's exactly. A cigar-shaped piece of meat.
Yeah, the Salisbury steak would then like sing like do 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 do. No. Yeah, but I love the ending. I love the way that the government is communicating with the aliens at the end. The musical notes, kind of like Arrival. You have to figure out a new way to communicate.
Oh yeah, that
language,
was such.
The idea of language is huge in Arrival and in this movie too. And that's something you don't really think about. Like, how would you communicate with something that's so alien?
Yeah, that thinks of language in a 3-dimensional state.
Yeah.
When we're just stuck in the 2-dimensional state with it. It's how can you communicate? They have like one word that means so many different things.
They do. You're right. Exactly. So yeah, I love the idea of the music. I like the ending. I like the aliens at the end. It's that kind of stuff. Like if you want to see again the prototypical UFO first contact movie, that's the one.
Yep.
And I'm sure a lot of people have seen it.
There's an extended version of that where you actually get to see the inside of the craft.
You know what? That's one I have on Laserdisc. It's the special edition.
Oh.
Yeah, and yeah, it's kind of, it's not really necessary, but...
Yeah, it's kind of anticlimactic,
He kind of just walks in and then like some lights move around and yeah, It's a
like
little
footage they
underwhelming.
shot and decided to leave on the cutting room floor and then added back a decade later. And
They should have left it on the floor. It was
the
fine.
original version is probably the best. That's the one we grew up with, the one we're used to seeing.
Yeah, but the thing I can't get over with that movie is how easily Richard Dreyfuss and the other woman get to that spot at the end, because the government is supposed to be in charge of this area, and they get in, they get captured. They're like, all right, how do we escape? Let's just jump out the back of this truck.
I can believe it because it was supposed to be in the mid-'70s, and Jimmy Carter was president, and the government was really lax in a lot of things back then. We don't have the level of security we have now.
They didn't.
There
care.
was no homeland security to worry about. And
it's pretty funny though. They're just like duck, and then they just like keep ducking, and then keep going a little further, and it
was believable at the time it came out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If you say so. I love that, but Close Encounters of the Third Kind, definitely where you got to start.
So what's number 2?
Oh boy, let's see. On my list,
I bet you we have the same film as number 2.
All right, what's your number 2? Because
Fire in the Sky.
Fire in the Sky. You got it right. Yeah, that's the one that scared me. That's the one that really scared me when I was a kid. And if you haven't seen that movie, I think it's on Netflix streaming right now. It's also the movie that made me love D.B. Sweeney. I have this unnatural love for D.B. Sweeney. I don't know if it's the name, if it's him in that Fox TV show that ran for a brief period of time, Strange Luck. Did you ever watch that show?
No, but I keep getting his name confused with D.B. Cooper, who another conspiracy disappearance.
This is an actual person, D.B. Sweeney. But he's great. He was in the Spawn movie. He's great. But he plays Travis Walton, who gets abducted in Fire in the Sky. That movie, I actually just rewatched that one again.
This was based on a true case, right?
Based on a true case in the 70s.
There real is a Travis Walton.
He's
been a ghost on Coast to Coast AM.
A
guest, not a ghost.
He's this Arizona guy out in the wilds. Him and his friends have been logging all day, and I like the way the movie unfolds. Again, it's a mystery because the guys come down off the mountain. They're obviously scared. They said they just left Travis back there. The guys investigating don't really believe them, so there's a lot of suspicion on the friends. Obviously this sounds like a plot where they just killed him to cover it up, and then they covered it up with some crazy
just
story.
Selfishly abandon him out there.
It's they're not friends at the end of the movie. Let's put it that way. I don't think they stay tight after just dumping.
It's not one of those bonding films.
But through some flashbacks, you see that they come upon this literal fire in the sky. I love the orange glow, and they come across, what do you get? A UFO. But what about that tractor beam scene where it shoots him and then kind of pushes him back? That's, to me, one of the iconic kind of UFO things put to film, is that scene. That's one of my favorites. So, and there's more flashbacks. The final 10 minutes where it shows him getting the...
probed as well.
Why do they... What's the point of the probing? I feel like I don't really. That's the one part of everything I don't really buy.
It's a cosmic colonoscopy. Obviously they just check in to see if everything's kosher down there. We got to give it up to South Park for actually bringing the alien probe into the cultural zeitgeist. Because now, if you're going to get abducted by aliens, you know exactly what to expect. You know what's coming.
Yeah, Cartman taught us all what's coming. That makes me think of The Simpsons too, where. Not the first one where they get abducted by the aliens, but the second time Homer gets abducted, and it's he's like, well, let's get this over with. He pulls his pants down.
He's just ready for
it. And the alien's like, stop. We've reached the limits of what rectal probing can teach us. Yeah, but Travis Walton gets it pretty bad in Fire in the Sky. Let's put it that way.
Well, to be fair, a lot of abduction cases... When women being abducted, it's worse for them because they actually get impregnated, and they have to give birth to hybrids.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's a lot worse than a cosmic proctologist working on you. I think
that's I don't.
I mean, they have to live with that forever, and
and that's a big theme of the next thing we should talk about, which is the X-Files. Maybe my favorite alien conspiracy, at least, storyline ever.
That definitely belongs in the abduction canon, just for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
The movie.
I need to get another beer, so I think we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about some X-Files after this. We're going to talk about some of the other UFO movies that we love. I'm Charlie.
I'm Ben.
This is Hops and Monsters. We're talking aliens. We're going to get back on this pony.
We're getting back on it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Right along, little doggy.
Rawhide. Welcome back to Hops and Monsters. I am Charlie.
I'm Ben.
This is a weekly discussion of uninhibited nerdery. We're getting super nerdy tonight. I think we're really going deep nerd on this one because we're talking about something that I've been a nerd about since I was 10. UFOs, aliens, and the movies about them. I just love it. I can talk about this all day.
Yep, I listen to Coast to Coast AM pretty much every night, so I'm really big on the paranormal, conspiracy theory, ancient aliens tip.
Yeah, and when we went on the break, we were about to talk about one of the best representations, I guess, of the conspiracy theory, the X-Files. If aliens exist, is there a conspiracy? I want to believe. I don't know, Ben. What do you think? The truth is out there, right?
I want to know why Fox Mulder is in the FBI and still can't get a decent cell phone signal, even in the mid-'90s. You know?
It's the 90s. The cell phones are primitive. This is.
But the FBI, come on.
This is kind of.
You would have a satellite phone.
That show came out in '93 or so, right before the internet was a thing. So no one's Googling anything. There's just people having to make a lot of long distance calls and then traveling across the country in 10-minute increments. Because I always showed you the time on the little bottom corner thing, and it always showed you the. It'd be 9:15, and then they'd be in Oregon 9:33. Wait a minute. No. So the X-Files hit me when I was about 10, 11 years old. I mean, it right in the perfect spot. It gave me everything I wanted as far as aliens, UFOs, extraterrestrials, abductions, mysteries. I fell in love with it. I mean, I watched that show religiously up until Mulder left in the 7th season or whenever that was. But yeah, any thoughts? Were you a big X-Files guy back in the day?
Not really, but I thought the movie was actually quite good at the time. The X-Files movie, and definitely the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That definitely plays into the abduction scenario here we're talking about.
Right. Well, I mean, the pilot episode starts right off with an abduction in Oregon, and most of the episodes take place in the Pacific Northwest because they filmed in Vancouver, so there's plenty of trees around, so they're like, let's set this one in Oregon again. It was perfect. But yeah, I mean, Fox Mulder, the FBI agent whose sister was abducted, he wants to believe. He runs the X-Files. He's down in the basement. He's the FBI's most unwanted, as he says in the beginning. He's dedicated to the job. Oh,
that's why he has such shitty cell phone service. That
yeah, exactly.
They wouldn't give him a sat phone.
It's amazing that they even paid for them to fly across country as much as they did. But Dana Scully is. She's kind of the new agent. She's brought in to actually debunk Mulder, but she's on board in episode 1. I mean, that's what I love about the X-Files.
She is, because in the movie, at the end, it's like he rescues her from this UFO.
Well, yeah.
And they see the thing lift off in Alaska, I guess. They had to film that in Alaska because that's technically United States territory, which gives the FBI jurisdiction there.
Exactly. Well,
that's the
stuff like jurisdiction, I think, was out the window by season 6. They were, but no, it's
But she doesn't even get to see it, and still doesn't believe anything at the end of that movie.
Right. Well, she's great because she's kind of, you follow Mulder, but really you're seeing everything through the eyes of Scully. It's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson thing. Like, you see everything through Watson's eyes in those books, and Scully is the skeptic, but she's there to do her job, and she ends up being the one who gets abducted and gets pregnant, like you were talking about earlier, and then has all of those terrible things happen to her throughout the whole show. And then she's still come on, Mulder, it can't really be this, right?
Yeah. And he's like,
Week after week.
you know, you were covered in slime, naked, and I was holding you in my arms. I rescued you from this damn UFO. I saw the thing take off into the sky, and you won't even turn around and look at it.
She's
like, are you sure?
She's like, I don't know, Mulder. You gotta be scientific about this. No, I mean, that show to me was the one where I first started, week after week, tuning in religiously, checking the message boards on this weird thing we had.
Oh, you were a full-on nerd with this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back when the internet was like a disc you got in the mail, and you had to like put that in to get AOL or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh my god! It took 20 minutes to load it. It would take like 20 minutes to load a web page.
I think Mosaic was one of the first web browsers.
Yeah. I remember, at least being on there when it's like Netscape and stuff, and you're on this board of messages, and someone at the top will write like, I don't think this is good because of this, and then you wait 20 minutes to see the response because it took so long to load, and then the other guy would be like, you're poop. Oh, I waited for that.
The birth of the troll nation, right there.
It was the beginning of the current internet culture. People trolling and people back when the word flame war was a thing. You remember flame wars? People would flame war each other, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, so the X-Files, I feel like we can do many episodes just on the X-Files, but it's the big government conspiracy. They know something. I love how deep it gets. Again, at least for the first 7 seasons, it's very rich, and I love them. And it's also a monster of the week every now and then.
Yeah,
they would, so it's kind of the best of both worlds.
It was one of the best shows of the '90s. I've got to say,
for sure. Yeah, big time.
I mean,
it's really cemented my passion for reading about and learning about UFOs and stuff. So, all right, so let's hit each other. What are some other great UFO abduction movies that you love? I can go first. You can go first.
Well, I don't know if this is necessarily abduction, but Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson.
Sure,
came out a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It takes place in Scotland. It's so bizarre. It can almost be an episode of Black Mirror if you factor aliens into the picture.
It's very art house feeling.
Yeah, you're not given any explanation as to what's going on ever. And David Lynch could have directed it.
Yeah, definitely. Under the Skin is it's an alien on Earth.
Creepy atmosphere.
Very creepy, very scary. Probably my favorite Scarlett Johansson performance since Ghost World. I mean, she's perfect in that role. She's one of those actresses that I think gets maligned to the big budget action movies too much when she has a lot of depth and there's something under.
Yeah, they don't really
under the skin.
Use her very well in the Avengers films, I feel.
Yeah, right? Or anything like that. She's we were just talking in the break about Ghost in the Shell, and it's like,
I so can't wait for that.
I'm sure that'll be cool, that looks good. And I'm sure it'll look good, but
I can separate that and separate the anime. I grew up on that and Ninja Scroll as well in the 90s
that's
for anime.
That's a whole other beast. Well, we should do a whole Ghost in the Shell episode, like when that comes out. We should.
Yeah, we'll talk about Akira and all the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Under the Skin is great. If you haven't seen that one yet, it's again a slow, thoughtful,
heavy on atmosphere.
It's a mystery.
It will creep you the fuck out.
It's so creepy though, yeah, and it's very real. And you know why it feels so real, Ben, is because there's scenes where Scarlett Johansson is just driving around picking up men to seduce and then to make tiny black inky things out of later in the movie. Those were all real people. Those were not actors. She was actually driving around Scotland, and there was all these hidden cameras in the car, and she would just start talking to like a guy on the street. So all those encounters in the beginning are just real dudes in Scotland that she would like pull up on. What do you think about that? That's pretty crazy.
Think that sounds like a really bad porn scenario. Is this Bang Brothers or something?
Yeah, you have to have a subscription to watch this movie, but no, I mean I think it adds to just that level of. I
mean, she does show quite a lot of skin. Let's be honest.
There is under the skin. There's a lot.
It's even called under the skin. You know, should be called under the clothes, but.
That's a good one. I'm going to go back for an earlier one. This is a movie I feel like I might talk about forever, so stop me. But Communion. I have this love-hate relationship with the 1989 film Communion that I need to get out there because I love the book. So Whitley Strieber is a author. He wrote novels that got turned into movies like The Howling and The Hunger.
Well, he claims Communion is a true story.
And so he claims that in the 80s...
And that it actually happened to him.
He experienced alien abduction.
More anal probery coming up.
Yeah, exactly. So they turned that into a movie in 89, and who's the biggest box office draw in 89? Of course, it's Christopher Walken, I guess.
Is it?
I don't know.
Is he a box office draw?
He's such a weird... Okay, so I love Christopher Walken.
He's totally awesome, but I don't know if he's a draw.
But he is so wrong in this movie. He's like he is great in the movie, but he's in a different movie. It's one of those where it's like, this is a very serious, kind of slow movie, and then you got Christopher Walken like scatting through the whole thing, just like, Christopher Walken.
Wearing a different fedora I've never seen.
Yeah, he's in full Walken mode. He's getting abducted. He's like, I'm over here. You over there. You don't look right.
Can I have one of those Chesterfields?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted an excuse to do my Christopher Walken impression, really. Oh, dude, that's no good. I can't do that. No, I don't want that. You know, and it's like, well, there goes the probe. And that movie is so bizarre. The book's really great. The book's very tense and harrowing and very, and there's a bunch of books that follow it. But then the movie is just Christopher Walken being like, now you're cooking.
What's up with that picture on the wall staring at me?
And then, so he plays Whitley Strieber. He gets abducted. All these weird things
Whitley
happen.
Walken. That name rolls off the tongue.
So I got to share this piece of trivia I found, though, that I love. This is one of the great disses in movie history. So Whitley Strieber didn't really like Christopher Walken's performance, obviously, because it's so over the top. It kind of makes him look like a lunatic. It makes Whitley Strieber look like a total lunatic.
You know, I say that he played it perfectly then, because Whitley Strieber is a bit of a lunatic.
So apparently, Strieber, however you say it, he was an executive producer. So he's on the set watching Walken do this. And he walked up to Christopher Walken one day and was like...
Walked up to Walken.
He walked up to Walken, as you do, and he told him that he was portraying him as too crazy. And Christopher Walken apparently replied, if the shoe fits. Hey, if the shoe fits.
Hey, if the fedora looks good.
Hey, ooh. But no, this is one of those movies where it's like, the alien effects are kind of cheesy. The stuff, he gets taken aboard this craft, and it's so bizarre, but it's really worth watching just for Christopher Walken, just being like, get out of here.
Yeah,
you're an alien.
It's true. I can't think of a movie I did not enjoy a Christopher Walken performance in.
He's so perfect. Oh, man. So that movie, Christopher Walken getting abducted.
We're going to talk about Brainstorm with Christopher Walken at some point.
Sure. Oh, and I mean, but that's the thing. It's so funny because Christopher Walken can be so good. I love him in The Dead Zone, and when he's in a movie like Pulp Fiction, or he's in one, he's
we're going to have a Walken dedicated episode coming up.
We'll do that.
It's got to happen.
But in the meantime, find Communion. Do yourself a favor. It is so funny. Anyways, I don't know. You got another one or
Skyline? All right, came out a few years ago.
Tell me more.
There is an abduction scenario at the very end of this film, but it's sort of like Independence Day. Aliens just arrive suddenly and start killing people, and there's a couple of people that are trapped in a high-rise condo in L.A. and the movie's about how they deal with it.
Okay, that sounds good. I haven't seen it.
It's got the dude from Dexter who plays the Cuban detective.
Oh, sure, I like him.
Can't remember his name.
No.
And he seems really miscast in this film, I gotta say.
Bloodline too. He's good. Okay, Skyline. I'll check it out. I've got a whole list here. How about District 9? Did you like District 9?
Oh, my God. How could we not even... Yeah. That's a fucking awesome film.
That one I like because it doesn't fit into the aliens are here to help us or aliens are here to hurt us. They're just here.
They're homeless aliens.
They just like, this is...
Their ship just broke down in orbit, and crashed over Johannesburg and got stuck above the city.
They have no agenda. That's what really kind of sets that movie apart.
The government they resemble walking prawns.
I like the design.
Human-sized prawns.
They're very cool-looking aliens. That's a good one.
They get marginalized into a Johannesburg ghetto.
Yeah,
they don't even. They can't even get back into their own ship, which is just stuck hovering about a mile above the city up in the atmosphere.
Yeah. I'll give you another one. One of my favorites from when I was a kid, Flight of the Navigator. That movie is a great 80s movie. And it's kind of a family movie, but I have such a soft spot for it. It's one of my favorites. And I like that movie because it deals with something that doesn't really get talked about in a lot of abduction movies, is the idea of light speed travel and time passing on Earth, but you don't get older. So this kid gets abducted.
Yeah, Interstellar.
Yeah,
that's actually based on real physics. Like
Interstellar. Yeah, exactly. This kid, his name's David, I think. He gets abducted in 1978, brought back in 86, but he hasn't aged a day. And everyone else, his family, his brother, his parents.
Well, if he parked his spaceship next to a black hole for a few years, that's exactly what would happen.
He did, man. You know, yeah, he was in the.
It's just
he was in
the laws of relativity, man. Yeah. We know this.
So that one's really cool. I think the first half is a lot better for me in that one because it kind of takes it more seriously. And so, you know, the scientists, they figure out that, oh, this kid just showed up after missing for 8 years. He hasn't aged a day. They take him in. They do all the brain tests on him. He's got all these star charts in his brain. It's really cool. And no one knows what's going on. And I love that. And then it kind of turns into a family film, you know. It kind of turns into like
well, when you have a kid, they kind of need to have a family.
It's like a Disney movie, I think,
or they're going to grow up to be a bit unstable. So I'm glad that they're big on family values here.
It was good, yeah, exactly. It was all about him. He eventually, you know, he meets up with the UFO. The UFO has crashed, and the alien intelligence who pilots it. I like that too. It's, you know, if we ever meet alien beings, we're not going to meet organic alien beings. We're probably going to meet the drones,
right?
The robots.
They're going to be AIs or drones, because
exactly.
That's the only way they could travel the distance.
They're the messengers, you know, and everything we've sent out into the world is, if it's not radio waves, it's like the Voyager, right? Where it's just basically info. That's all.
The probes really we sent out there. That's, you know, if an alien culture ever encounters us, they're going to encounter our probes first.
Yeah,
not the anal kind. The one,
not the rectal kind. Yeah, the informational kind, but. So I like Fly the Navigator. That's one of my favorites. How about Contact? Do you like Contact?
I guess we got to mention that.
That's a good.
It's 90s. Not really an abduction.
No, it's a different. It's a first contact kind of movie.
I'm a huge fan of Carl Sagan's work.
Yeah, that one is the most science kind of based, right?
I've got the music from his Cosmos show on vinyl.
Oh, great! I've got a hardcover edition of the original Cosmos book.
I used to have that as well.
That's a great one. That was a good thrift store find. Yeah.
No, he was the Neil deGrasse Tyson of my era, for sure.
Yeah, except like 1,000 times better.
You know, sorry, Neil. He was the one that Carl Sagan inspired. Carl Sagan. Yeah. He inspired Neil deGrasse Tyson in person. He got to meet him in person when he was a small boy.
I think Carl Sagan and his stuff had a lot to do with my interest, because as far as reading about, you know, Bermuda Triangle and all this conjectural stuff, I got really into the stuff like Cosmos, going to the planetarium shows at the JC, just really absorbing the science.
Oh man, the laserium shows at the San Francisco Aquarium.
Totally.
Man, those were so
that kind of stuff to me is just as enthralling. Like the
listening
actual
to Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's like
laser show of the cosmos.
Yeah, and so Contact is all about SETI and transmissions, and we don't really see the aliens, but they're in contact with them. They're getting these messages, and they build a device, and I just really love the science behind that movie. That movie really energizes me.
I like how in the end, when she finally does meet an alien, it ends up being an avatar of her dead father.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't understand. And he's like, this is how we make contact. This is just how it's done.
Exactly. You
know, I'm in a form that your brain can handle right now.
And then she comes back, and again, it's another one of those time displacement things, because
she's only been gone for like 0.4 seconds.
Yeah, that to me was great. I think that movie, we could have skipped the whole subplot about the first station getting blown up, and then they find a second station.
Oh yeah, because why not build two for twice the cost?
Yeah, we could have. That movie's like 2.5 hours. We could have chopped about 20 minutes off of that.
You know, sorry about the spoilers, but that movie's been out for like 2 decades now, so you should have seen it.
That one's on Netflix too. Yeah. We're not going to spoil Arrival, but Contact up for grabs. Sorry. What else? I love Signs. We got to talk about Signs real quick.
Probably my favorite M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, I think as far as M. Night concerned, that's the last great one, right?
Well, The Village had some interesting premises.
You know, I like the Village more than most people. I feel like that's when people started getting turned off by the twist. They were like, "Oh, that's a stupid."
It was
twist.
just a completely implausible scenario at the end.
Twist. Everyone is demanding a twist from this guy, and then he delivers one they don't
well,
like it.
Folks, if you want twists, just watch Black Mirror. That'll give you all the twists you can handle.
Yeah, The Village was like a really long Twilight Zone episode. Totally. That's like a total Twilight Zone episode. But Signs, I love because it doesn't show you. It's the hidden terror. It's the foot that comes out of the crops. It's the fingers under the door. They don't really show you stuff. And then the end, to me, again, I think the end's probably the weakest part.
Yeah. Can we talk about spoilers with this one?
What's that?
Can we talk about spoilers with this one?
Yeah,
with
Signs we can talk about spoilers, right?
Water kills the aliens. Like, you throw a glass of water.
Yeah. Y'all
and an alien charging at you, and it's like acid burning him, and they all have to leave because we figured it out that we just throw a bottle of water at him, and that's like a shotgun blast to the head.
Exactly.
It's kind of anticlimactic.
Well, imagine you're an alien species. You're like, hey, there's a planet over here with some people we could take. All right, what's it made of? Well, 90% water.
I think we'll just stay away from there.
We're not really good with that. I don't know. Was it the oxygen or the hydrogen?
I mean, the continental United States must just seem like a small island to that poor alien race.
I know, exactly. But that one, I think, again, builds the mystery well. It's scary. And I remember very specifically, I went and saw it opening night, because that's not usually something I do, but I was like, oh, I got to see this 10 p.m. opening night. And girls are screaming. People are, it really.
The first hour of it is very intense and had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah,
okay?
And Joaquin Phoenix is perfect in it, and it's. Really
he's like the new Walken, Joaquin Phoenix. I love him in every movie he's in.
I love him too. Starting with that one, especially, that's kind of where I guess he was good in Gladiator, but that was the movie where I first was like, I love this guy.
I love the movie Gladiator, and I just didn't see him as a villain. That's the only thing.
Yeah,
but still, exactly. I can't think of a Joaquin Phoenix movie I don't enjoy.
He's good in To Die For. He's good in earlier movies.
He's great in Inherent Vice.
These days. Yeah, he's been.
Even a Woody Allen film called An Innocent Man, he's awesome in that.
Her, he's great in. Everything he's in, right?
Another ScarJo film, that we got to give props to.
He's definitely he's doing everything right. I love him, but I think he's what makes Science. And that movie was such a moment of, like, you're watching the TV and you're affected by the media, and that was kind of the first movie. And Arrival does this a lot too, where it shows you the newscast of what's going on and how you would have. It
puts you in the context of the situation, because if you saw that happening, that's how you would get the news.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so like I don't want to date the show, but there was an earthquake in Japan today in Fukushima.
Today?
Yeah, and there's already a tsunami warning.
Dude, I haven't even heard about that.
60-centimeter tsunami. Watch out, dude. It's coming.
If it comes 7 days from now,
even 60 centimeters of water can knock you over and drown you.
Man, I didn't hear about that. No, but yeah, I mean, that's really, and Arrival does a great job of that too. You learn about this thing from the media. You learn about things that happen to you from the box, from the TV, and not everyone gets to see the spaceship come down to Earth.
Black Mirror, our phones.
The Black Mirror, yeah.
Or tablets. Exactly. Constantly in front of us, constantly staring back at us.
But anyways, there you go. I mean, what else do you say? I love any movie where an alien comes down and scoops us up. I think it's interesting. My latest obsession is the Mothman stuff. I've been really digging in deep with the Mothman stuff that happened in the 60s or 70s.
It's still going on.
It's so much more than just a giant winged creature. There's men in black. There's these searchers who seem to swoop out of the sky. There's I've been listening to. Let me give the correct. There's a podcast called Astonishing Legends that I love, and they are doing a Mothman series right now.
Really?
And it's really good. They get in deep. Yeah, you should listen to it. Everyone should listen to that.
I got to add that to my ever-growing list of podcasts I got to listen to.
They're great.
It's taking up all my time doing the research.
I'm waiting for the movie that kind of gives you the real Men in Black story, because
Men in Black.
The Will Smith Men in Black is not the Men in Black. The real Men in Black is so scary, so crazy when you hear about these real-life experiences. I mean, we should do a whole episode just on them.
Well, we should talk about Men in Black when we also talk about Ghostbusters. Because they're very similar in the genre.
I could see that. Okay, I could see that. I like that. We could do a dual Ghostbusters Men in Black episode. I like that. we like UFOs. We're running out of time here.
We're 50
and I'm
minutes
looking at
in.
the clock.
We're already 2.5 beers in.
There's so many other movies I wanted to talk about, but
we might have to do a part 2.
Yeah. Did you ever see Mars Attacks? I just really. Here's the way to go out. Okay. Here's the way to go out.
Have you seen John Carpenter of Mars? John Carter.
John Carter of Mars.
I like John Carpenter better.
I do like that too.
He did Ghosts of Mars.
He did Ghosts of Mars. John Carter of Mars. Not a coincidence. This has been Hops and Monsters. I'm Charlie.
I'm Ben.
We've been drinking the Shoots Fresh Squeeze. We've been talking
So
about
good.
aliens. I want to just go out on my Mars Attacks impression, and maybe you could do one too.
I don't know how to respond to that. I've got to go see Arrival again to make sure I'm interpreting you correctly.
Exactly, yeah. It's in the language there somewhere. You can translate it. All right, well, have a good night. Watch the skies.
I love it. Keep your eyes to the skies.